Welcome to the Huddle Sports Network, where we're breaking boundaries and redefining podcasting. Broadcasting live on 6 different platforms, we're bringing you the latest in sports like never before. Imagine tuning in to real-time discussions, expert analyses, and fan interactions all at your fingertips. Each platform offers a unique experience, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. We're not just sharing stories, we're creating a community of passionate sports enthusiasts. Join us as we dive deep into the evolution of podcasting, where every episode is a chance to engage, debate, and celebrate the world of sports. This is where your voice matters and the game never stops. Welcome to the Huddle Sports Network, where we're breaking boundaries and redefining podcasting. Broadcasting live on 6 different platforms, we're bringing you the latest in sports like never before, where sports passion meets podcasting brilliance. I'm Mike, the Bear fan, and alongside Bill, the Packer fan, and our buddy Ken Catalone, we're bringing you an incredible lineup of 38 diverse podcasters. Each one brings their unique flavor to the table, covering everything from game analysis to behind-the-scenes stories. Imagine diving deep into the minds of experts who live and breathe football, sharing insights that you won't find anywhere else.
And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on the Huddle Sports Network. This is the Christmas Day edition, late night. I'm Taylor Phillips. He's Ed Smith. Just Lions, Red Wings, and Pistons to talk about once again. The Lions go into Soldier Field and beat the Chicago Bears 34-17. Dan Campbell said after the loss to the Bills that they were going to bounce back, and so they did. Now, of course, we saw quite a few things. Odunze with 2 fumbles, Josh Paschal recovering one of them, Jahmyr Gibbs with a first touchdown of the game, had to take a second attempt, and then the bomb to Jamo, the fake stumble bomb, of course, and then a sack by Muhammad. The Lions just kept the Bears in check. The Bears tried to at least put up a fight with as much potential as they would ever have from their players like Caleb Williams, Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore, and DeAndre Swift. But Swift was held to very limited rushing yardage by the Lions' defensive front. So any analogy on that?
Yeah, I would like to start with the offense because I think it's important to know that the way the offense started this game as compared to how they started the Buffalo game, both in the first half and second half, and particularly, was night and day difference. As you notice, they had slow starts to each start of each half, which led to them falling into the hole they did against Buffalo. They learned from that lesson. They realized, listen, we got to come out from the gate swinging. We got to come out and set the tone and establish our identity early, so that we can implement our game plan the way we want to implement it. That meant getting ahead early. That meant scoring touchdowns. That meant not giving up easy, drives, having those shutdown drives, so you can maintain that focus, maintain that control. And the fact that they started this game 20-0 let me know exactly that Dan Campbell knew what he was talking about wanting to reset the tone, play their identity. The fact that there was no sense of off-sync rhythm in this game that we saw with the Buffalo game, that we saw. In fact, ironically enough, it's a good thing that you mentioned that stumble bumble play, because the Packers, and on that play, the Packers had actually fumbled. And based on how everything reacted, one thing led to another, and the Packers wound up getting a big play out of that. Now, as for the Lions, Ben Johnson saw that. They took that footage, studied it. They practiced that play all week, so that make sure when they had the right setup, the right look, the right design of when to call that play, they knew when to call it. They practiced it 3 or 4 times throughout the week. Johnson had even suggested at one point to Goff, do you want to actually try fumbling the ball itself? Which proves how much of a sicko Ben Johnson is, but he's our sicko. And the fact that they wanted to run that play earlier in the game, but had to check out of it, let you know, yeah, they were on because everything lined up perfectly for them to where they had to use it here and could use it here. So they pulled it off to perfection. I mean, the fact that you saw Goff and Gibbs fall down at the exact same time, but notice how Goff, even throughout the entire sequence, he held on to the ball completely. He knew exactly when to get back up, when to get into his posture, when to get into his stance. And by the time he did that, Laporta was wide open, running his route because he knew, just like everyone on that offense knew, the Bears were going to get caught flat-footed. They didn't see it coming. Some of the refs didn't see it coming, and it was just pulled off to perfection.
Exactly. Yeah. And then,
But there's other things. But besides that play, though, there were other aspects of the offense that I did like to see.
Ed, I think you're cutting in and out. We apologize for the technical difficulties. But the bomb to JMO, like we mentioned.
Yeah, the 137 passer rating from Goff to go along with his 336 and 3 touchdowns. That 82-yard bomb to JMO, which, by the way, was the second longest touchdown pass in Goff's career. He's playing at such an incredible and consistent level that people are still want to hold the 5-interception game against the Texans against him as some sort of bad mark. When if I can remember correctly, they still came back and won that game, and Goff was an integral part of that comeback. And let's not forget the fact that he still threw almost 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. In a duel with Josh Allen last week with a decimated defense, and yet in this game he threw for the 4th straight game. And when you look at the fact that he's had only 4 games in his entire season without putting up a QB passer rating of at least 100 or more, it lets you know how integral Goff has been and how valuable he has been to this Lions team and their success. Like I said before, if Aiden Hutchinson was the second most important guy that couldn't go down on this team, Jared Goff is clearly the most important. And quickly, we're finding and seeing that guys like Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams and Amon-Ra St.
Brown
in that most valuable slot, that most valuable ladder, because you saw with Jahmyr, 23 carries, 109 yards.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out, Ed.
The fact that Jahmyr became the first player in Lions history since Calvin Johnson to produce a season where he has over 1,500 total scrimmage yards or more and 15 touchdowns is quite remarkable. And also, knowing that this is going to be a game where Jahmyr was going to get more of a workload with the injury to David Montgomery, but even still, we saw other guys step up when they needed their snaps, and when they got their snaps, they made them count. Guys like Sione Baki, guys like Jermar Jefferson, guys like Craig Reynolds, they made their plays count when it was necessary. Was able to take off that pressure of Jahmyr when he needed a rep, needed a rest, needed a quick break, and that way he was able to stay as fresh as possible. It also helps when you have your receiving core doing what they were supposed to be doing. Laporta, another, he's starting to catch fire as of late. He's got now another touch.
Yep, touchdown. Yep.
143 yards had 103 yards for receiving, including that 82-yard bomb from Goff. Worth noting, by the way, that was his 4th such touchdown of 50 or more yards this season. And aside from Megatron in 2011, only Cloyce Box in 1950 are the only other players in franchise history was.
Again, we apologize. We seem to have some either. Yeah. Hey, Ed, are you still there? Yeah, we seem to have lost Ed's connection, I think, because I'm not hearing him. Hey, Ed, are you there? There we go.
Okay. Is everything good? Can you hear me now?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, I was just making sure everything was good on my end. Nothing freaky was going on or any of that sort. But before I was, sorry for the technical issue, but I was stating that again, the many offense weapons that his offense has, whether it be Jameer, JMO, St. Brown.
Here we go again.
Mr. Consistency on his level, it shows that not only Brad Holmes knew what he was doing by drafting players and drafting them when he drafted them, he's also getting the best development out of them. For example, Christian Mahogany on the offensive line, he took Graham Glasgow's place at left guard this past Sunday, the rookie sixth rounder, and the fact that he is a more natural right guard. This was his first time playing left guard since I think it was his days at college, about 2020 at Boston College, so 4 years ago. And yet he played 65 snaps, only allowed one pressure, one hit on the QB, but no hurries, zero sacks. He showed quick feet. He showed great awareness. He showcased when to switch off of a guy, when to pancake another guy. Mahogany was just all over the place, and it showed in some of his PFF grades. He got an 82.5 rating on pass block and a 70.4 rating on run block. The fact that this guy was a sixth-round draft pick, that Brad Holmes knows how to pick him and when to pick him, and also, by the way, it doesn't hurt when you continue to invest and build in your biggest strength, i.e. your offensive line. That sets the tone and sets the table for what you need to do year in and year out, game in and game out.
Yeah, because it helps
Helps
out other guys like
your offensive line. Because of how invested your offensive line is. Because think, we got Mahogany, we have Sewell,
Ragnow, Taylor Decker,
Sorsdal, for example.
Graham Glasgow,
Sorsdal, Manu, Mahogany, Sewell, Zeitler. The depth, right? They're trying to build that depth as much as possible of your current guys and future guys, because that is the heartbeat of your team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, the Lions now have 13 wins. They're 13-2. Mm-hmm. It's a new franchise record in wins. Can you believe that?
In a way, I can, because we knew what the ceiling was, what the goal, the expectations were after how last season ended. And this was, again, I don't think anybody was expecting to go potentially 15-2, 16-1, that type of deal. But knowing the mindset and knowing of how they improved themselves at key positions and key areas, and again, just the motivation of how last year ended for them, I'm not surprised that they were able to, again, I had them going, I'm pretty sure my season prediction had them at least 12 wins, if not 13 wins, trying to get that number one seed. Well, they're at it now. The thing is, I don't think anybody else was expecting the rest of the NFC North to be this damn good. So, aside from that, no, I'm not really too surprised they were able to reach this plateau.
Right. Most people are, but
when you consider the fact that they had 3 wins in Dan Campbell's. Right. When you consider the fact that they had 3 wins in Dan Campbell's first year, then follow up with 9 wins the second year, then 12 wins last year, it's just natural progression. They basically peaked a year early last year. They arrived too early last year, a year ahead of time. So now here they are at full potential.
Yeah. And they may not even be done yet. They got the San Francisco 49ers, the struggling 49ers, on Monday Night Football. The 49ers have been eliminated from playoff contention just recently. And they're just lifeless. Brock Purdy hasn't been doing too well. You still got weapons like Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Witherspoon.
No, Ayuk's gone. He injured
right.
his knee. He's done. He's done, and so is Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the 49ers have a lot of injuries. So are the Lions, but the Lions keep overcoming that. The 49ers haven't. And the Lions just need to take advantage.
Well, Yes, they do. They do, but let's not forget.
Still cutting in and out. Say that one more time. Sorry.
God.
You got to tune to the Michigan Sports Truth podcast on the Huddle Sports Network. Again, we apologize for any technical difficulties on a night like Christmas night. But by the way, follow the Michigan Sports Truth podcast on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Michigan_Truth, and like its Facebook page. Subscribe to its YouTube channel at the Michigan Sports Truth podcast. Like its videos and turn on all notifications on the bell icon. Watch its live episodes in full to learn everything. Follow it and listen to it in audio form on Spreaker. Also join its supporters club. But back to the Lions and 49ers. So you were saying something.
Hopefully the third time's the charm with this. And I do apologize again for the technical issues, everyone, with the network connections and everything. But getting back to the point of what I was saying with San Fran, yes, they have injuries. Yes, they're missing some pieces. But they still have people like George Kittle, like Deebo Samuel, like Juwan Jennings on offense. And they still have guys like Nick Bosa on that defense that can still get at people. So even though, yeah, they're as dead as the Bears, they still have something to play for, and that's still pride. And obviously the Lions, they're taking this as much of a serious business trip as they did this past game with Chicago. Obviously, the added motivation of going back to the scene of how their season ended last time, it helps. I would say that's a benefit. And like you mentioned about the Lions, not really getting bit with the injury bug this week really helped because it really showed on their line, especially in their secondary. Like guys like Terry Arnold and Robertson stepping up in the absence of Carlton Davis, and Ifeatu Melifonwu making his return, playing his first game all year, looked very nice. Set of a point where they were playing 3 safety sets with Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch and Melifonwu. So I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Glenn
got a sack, by the way.
Yeah, he also got a sack, which I think could have been. Then you saw how much he was blitzing. It was used as an extra blitzer all over the field by Aaron Glenn. I believe something like that could have been proven to be very valuable against Josh Allen, but I digress. So pay attention to how Melifonwu will be used throughout the rest of the season. Worth noting that even though it was his first game back, he played about 80% of the snaps on the field. So that was a good test for his endurance and shaking off some of that rust, even though he did kind of leave Arnold kind of high and dry on that Keenan Allen touchdown. But still, overall, nice game for Melifonwu. I think he'll be a nice guy to use in coverage against either Deebo or George Kittle. Also, speaking of the defense, we may see the return of Jalen Reeves-Maybin. So he can. That's a guy who, in addition to being such a vital part of the special teams unit, he's a captain for a reason. He can also provide snaps at linebacker, which is desperately needed considering the fact that we still haven't gotten Alex Anzalone back and we already lost Malcolm Rodriguez for the year. So Jack Campbell, to his credit, is doing the best that he can with the likes of David Long and Zeke Turner and all that sort of thing. But once you get guys like Reeves-Maybin and Anzo back, that's going to make things even better for that linebacking core and thus make the front seven as a unit perform better. So I would still say look out for those weapons if they try to utilize routes and setups to take apart our linebackers. But aside from that, I still have faith in the fact that as long as you keep on running with Jameer and keep utilizing the way that you have been utilizing him all year, let's not forget that last week against the Dolphins, the Niners gave up 120 plus or so scrimmage yards to Achane. They're stud running back. So if you can replicate that kind of success with Jameer and get him involved early and often, mix things up, get him in open space with the ball in his hand, you can make it a long night for that San Francisco defense.
Yeah. So looking at the lines here as we go to the score.
Last I checked, it opened about 2.5 point favorites. I think last I checked it was like 3.5.
3.5. It is, yes. Of course, it's on ABC and ESPN Monday night, 8:15. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman on the call. Of course, Dan Miller, Lomas Brown, and TJ Lang, the call on the Lions Radio Network. So, prediction time.
Well, knowing that the fact that the Lions are coming in with a focused mindset, motivation from last year, knowing
Revenge
that they
and redemption.
yes, but and speaking of that, tying in the fact that they know they got to keep things going to get that number one seed. Worth noting, should the Vikings lose at any point the rest of the year, whether it be this upcoming game against the Packers or against the Lions next week, plus the Lions getting one more win, either way, any combination of that means that the Lions would win the division and they would win the number one seed, which would guarantee you that surefire path of the Super Bowl. Just 2 more games at Ford Field, protect your turf, get more guys back, and you'll be straight for the Super Bowl. So that's going to be at their mindset for the rest of this season of what they want to accomplish. With the factors I already mentioned before, I would still say that the 49ers could probably put up a little bit better of a fight than the Bears did, but they've been a bit of a dysfunctional mess all year themselves. So I will be interested to see if they come in focused enough, or will they implode on themselves the way the Bears were imploding themselves with turnovers, with mistakes at inopportune moments. So as long as the Lions can keep cool above water themselves and stay focused, they can win this game very much similar to the way they won this Bears game. So I can see this being another 31-18, 31-20 type of deal. So I'll say 31-20 that the Lions win. They'll win and they'll cover.
I think so too. I'm going to go Lions 34, 49ers 17. Just to make it a little bit close to yours. Just a little bit wider. So, man, let's get to those Red Wings. They get swept by the Montreal Canadiens in a home-and-home series, 4-3 at home, and then 5-1 in Montreal. And then they return home, and they get wiped off the ice by the St. Louis Blues 2 days before Christmas, 4-0 at home. And I'm going to take this one. I'm not going to blame Steve Yzerman because Yzerman is trying to build the talent around the head coach Derek Lalonde, but Lalonde's not doing much about it. He's not motivating the team. There's no voice, and Dylan Larkin's aware of it. Larkin's not quite blaming Lalonde yet, but Lalonde seems to be Jet Blashill 2.0 and being a bit of a coddling marshmallow, even more of a coddling marshmallow than Jet Blashill used to be. And I know fans have even more fans have been wanting to see Derek Lalonde get fired, and there's been and the number of fans on social media have been that have been blaming just a little sponsorship jersey patch, even after one season and a half. It has been shrinking. There's still very few of it. They still don't realize that other NHL teams wear sponsorship jerseys on their sponsorship patches on their jerseys. Take the Washington Capitals, Caesars Sportsbook patched on their jersey. You got to curse that too if you're a Capitals fan when they lose? No way, absolutely not. But back to the Red Wings anyway. They got booed, of course, and Dylan Larkin is aware of that, and he labels the fans rightfully frustrated because they are.
They have every right to be frustrated. I'd be frustrated too if I saw my team give up 4 more goals in 4 straight games. I don't give a
And
damn
get
if you're
blamed.
right. I don't care if you have injuries to guys like Evans and Sherratt right now. I get it, but it's the name of the game. Guys got to step up and perform better. Guys got to execute. Guys got to show effort. We have seen none of that now and on a consistent level at any point of this season. Always been back and forth, back and forth, back and forth with this team trying to struggle just to get to 500. And even when they do, they manage to slip on a banana peel and fall backwards again. So, like I said, Dylan Larkin used the right word. It is frustrating. But it's getting infuriating now to the point where, right, this is what, year 6 now of the supposed rebuild, and you still haven't made the playoffs yet, and now you seem to be going backwards instead of going forward. No, it's inexcusable in every sense of the word. And if you're Steve Eisman, you should not be getting some type of reprieve or shielding from this, because at the end of the day, you still put this roster together. Yes, I understand you may have your limitations or restrictions from the owner or thanks to the owner, but there was a reason why that you were hired to come back here. Fans had certain expectations of wanting to see once you got back here, and you haven't even reached the first level or accomplished the first level of that. So at some point, some of this has got a warrant on Steve.
Some of this, yes, but not way too much of it. Fans are just going like the sky is falling. Of course, on Yzerman more than and Lalone combined, but or probably more Yzerman than Lalone. But no, Yzerman does take some of the criticism, but not too much. He just keeps he just didn't select the right coach. It just seemed like Yzerman didn't select the right coach. Yzerman built all that talent last year. Perron, Gostisbehere last year, Tarasenko this year, Cam Talbot.
Well, the narrative, one narrative that could be spun out of this was because didn't Lalone come from Grand Rapids? Or assistant coach?
I believe that's not. No,
I think it's Blashill.
Yeah, that's Blashill. He came from Grand Rapids. Lalone, I think, came from I believe either Toledo or something like that, or the Windsor Spitfires or something like that.
Okay, but basically,
that's just another minor league coach. But basically, another minor league head coach. Really,
what I'm trying to get to is it's going to be presented as, okay, is Eisman going to get the chance to choose his coach, the coach that he prefers or wants, or is he going to try to choose another guy that may go down as another scapegoat? Those should be questions that should be asked at this point.
Exactly. Now we're getting down to it. Yes. Now we're boiling it down. So I wish there was a more NHL experienced head coach, one with fire and the fundamentals that can get this team back to basics and all that good stuff.
And also recognizing their strengths and not try to implement a system where that exposes their weaknesses more.
Right, exactly. That would be on our wish list. But the Pistons, they went out west. They stole the first 2 games from the Phoenix Suns, 133-125. And then the Los Angeles Lakers, 117-114. A big upset win over LeBron, AD, and company. Holy cow, what a win. The Lakers made it interesting. LeBron James heaved up a 3 at the end. It was just off the heel. Duran picked up the rebound at the buzzer, and that was it. Wow. The Pistons led by as many as 11, but they almost blew that one. But before that 11-point lead late in the fourth quarter, the game was very, very, very tight. It was an epic battle.
It really was. It was a back and forth affair. A bit different from the Suns game, where the Pistons pretty much had that one in control the entire way. That's despite the fact that Kevin Durant had 43 points in that game. And yet in this game, you mentioned LeBron. I believe he had a 28-point triple-double. It's 28, 11, and 11 to be exact. And this is a guy who's getting ready to be 40. He's going to be 40 years old in about I don't know 5 or so days. So I say that to say this: we are 30 games in now, and the Pistons are on track to be looking to have a better record finish than what they had last season, but also potentially to put themselves as a possible play-in discussion. I think that was their potential ceiling goal for what they could have accomplished or could have be used to the best of their ability at their most potential, because it speaks to how well Cade Cunningham is at the forefront of leading this team, getting his teammates involved, the production and development of guys like Jaden Ivey, the fact that they combined for like 48 points against the Suns and 38 points against the Lakers. A guy like Malik Beasley, who has been an absolute gem of a free agent, of an all-season addition to this team. He's hit 5 threes in his last 2 games. He's been the consistent and most deadliest three-point shooter on the team. He had 18 points against the Suns, 21 against the Lakers. That type of rhythm and formula, obviously they still got to learn how to close some games. So got to learn on the turnovers, and still got to learn on making sure that the perimeter defense is much tighter at the end of in the halves and end of games, because we've seen how it's gotten them into trouble lots of times. But still, that's what happens when you're a team that was as bad as you were last year, and now it's just learning the step-by-step process of how to develop, how to progress, how to show promise as a young rebuilding team. And the fact that we're seeing this 30 games in has instilled a lot of hope in a lot of Pistons fans. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, and the Pistons right now are in 10th place. Speaking of play-in, they're 13-17, tied for 9th place with the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls hold the tiebreaker, except they've lost 2 straight. The Pistons, as we mentioned, won 2 straight, both on the West Coast. They still have 2 more West Coast games left. The Sacramento Kings on Thursday at 10, and then the Denver Nuggets Saturday at 9, before they return home for a 4-game homestand against the Orlando Magic on Wednesday at 7. And then the Charlotte Hornets, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Portland Trailblazers.
So if you're at the Pistons, you're coming up at a point now where you're about to hit the halfway mark of your season, and you're already in contention for a play-in spot. To me, that you're on, your progress is on step with what we needed to see this year. So as long as they keep that up, don't hit that wall, as we get to the All-Star break and then into the second half, they'll be fine. They'll be in good shape to get one of those last couple spots to compete for a play-in spot. Now, I still wouldn't mind them being potential open buyers at the deadline. I could see maybe Jaden Ivey, for example, being a potential piece, a potential chip to use for whatever deal that they will want to use. But that's only if it was necessary, because I am liking what I'm seeing with him and Cade in the same backcourt. So only if the deal makes sense is if I would give up Jaden Ivey, but not before.
Right. That would be exactly understandable, but a vast improvement by this Pistons team. And yes, they should be buyers in fact, because we clearly see why. They 13-17. Wow.
Yeah, learn from what the Tigers did not do and what the Red Wings did not do. Find a way to buy in at the deadline. Invest properly. Set yourself up in the right spot to where, obviously you'll have cap space to try and add more and more reliable talent to better your chances next season. But see what you can do to stretch your worth or stretch your limits for this season. See how far of a ceiling or how high of a ceiling you can hit with this roster. Because I see promise, I see the potential, and I really like what JB Bickerstaff is instilling with this team. And I think, and you can tell with guys like Brett Vinson as the shooting coach, with the fact that the Pistons have been so more, I guess you could say, what's the word I'm looking for? more open to taking 3-pointers. I'll say that more open, more willing to take more 3-point shots as compared to years past, and especially last season, is a welcome sight to see, because that's the name of the game in today's NBA. You got to know how to shoot and know when to shoot.
Exactly. And Malik Beasley, for example, has continued to show all that thus far this season.
I've even seen some notable signs from Asar Thompson. And also, and obviously, we know how much of improvement Cade has made with his shot.
No kidding. Yeah. They can all shoot. So watch out, NBA. So, what all did we learn in this episode on a Christmas night?
Well, we learned that the Red Wings are going nowhere unless they really, and I think it's past time now. They have to make a change at the head coaching spot. I don't know when, I don't know how to do it, but Eisman has really got to consider making this and potentially making it fast before the season goes completely off the rails. We also learned that the Pistons are showing the progress that is needed in this West Coast road trip so far, and they're putting themselves at a spot to where if they keep things going and stay consistent, they can play for a potential play-in spot at the end of the year, which was frankly my ceiling for them as sort of an ultimate bounce back for how bad they were last year. And we learned that the Lions truly continue to embody the identity and the tone that their head coach establishes, because, they got punched in the mouth last week by Buffalo. But guess what? They responded. They bounced back. They said, you know what? Maybe we should be eating some of that moldy bread again to get us back into that mindset of what we need, of what we used to be to get where we need to be. And it showed in this game against the Bears. So we learned that they are willing, more than willing to show fight after a bad game, after a bad performance. And still, in 2 years plus now, they've still yet to lose 2 straight games, which is another testament to what Dan Campbell has established throughout this entire organization and throughout this entire team. And frankly, they're at a spot now to where, as long as they handle their business, they'll be in the right spot to get to the Super Bowl, but hands down.
Yeah. And they might get Aiden Hutchinson back either the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl.
We shall see. We shall see. Like, I still believe it's more than likely we'll see guys like Anzalone back and Khalif Raymond back. I don't know yet about David Montgomery. They're saying that he did not require surgery. He sought a second and a third medical opinion. And the general consensus was, if he is able to make a recovery and make a return, it will be by the divisional round. Anzalone, if he is able to make a full recovery, probably be in time for the wild card game. If not, he will be back for the divisional round as well. And as you said, Aiden Hutchinson himself saying, if the Lions do get to the Super Bowl, it is his promise that he will try to make it to as close as playable as possible to be back for that game.
Man, I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. So that is everything we've learned in this episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. I'm Taylor Phillips. He's Ed Smith. Follow the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Michigan_Truth. Like its Facebook page. Subscribe to its YouTube channel at the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Like its videos and turn on all notifications on the bell icon. Watch its live episodes in full to learn everything. Follow and listen to it in audio form on Spreaker. Also join its supporters club. Follow me on X, Taylor Phillips, on X, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube at DT2Phillips. Follow Ed Smith on X, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, Blue Sky, and YouTube at EdSmith313. Free shout-outs go to Athletico Physical Therapy on Woodward and Ferndale, the B4 Foundation, Baldwin Family Healthcare Center, Healthcare Dental Center in Cadillac, Cadillac Grill, Cadillac Nutrition, Cali Tickets. Call 877-225-8425 or visit CaliTickets.com. Cops and Donuts in Clare, Gaylord, Lansing, and Mount Pleasant. Sure wish Cadillac had one too. Creative Embroidery of Cadillac for designing the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast logo on my long sleeve shirt and t-shirt. Cuts by Melanie in Lake City. the El Cilantro Taco Shop in Petoskey, Hooters of Saginaw, It's a Denise Jewelry in Lake City, Let's Roll With It Rolled Ice Cream in Cadillac, Michigan Coffee Company in Cadillac, Northern Auto Lab in Lake City, Northern Star Event Rentals in Cadillac, 231-884-8195, and on Facebook, Positive Chimney and Fireplace, Pro Quality Cleaners, the Raven Social Restaurant, Union Barber in Birmingham and Ferndale, United Food Service Solutions of Grand Ledge, United Mobile Power Wash and Dry Ice Works in Southfield, and Well-Being with Catherine Palms in Traverse City. The Michigan Sports Truth Podcast is a presentation of the Huddle Sports Network. We'll be back a week from Thursday. Until then, for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. Merry Christmas, everyone. We observe and detect the truth about Michigan sports because the truth is out there. Stay on the lookout. Hit them with a hind. Also, Happy New Year.
Take care. Stay safe. Merry Christmas. Enjoy the holidays, guys. See you in the new year.